Good morning, Revo Church. It is so good to be here with you online to be able to worship together again this Sunday morning. My name's Kat, if you don't know me, and so I'm so thankful that you're here, that you're tuned in. And I just think it's so great how we have this opportunity to worship together online, even when we can't gather together in person, and how we were able to celebrate communion together last week, wherever you were. I know some people were traveling for Memorial Day holiday, some people were at their homes, some people were with other family members, and getting to share that communion experience and to share that communion moment with them, even though we as a church weren't together here in the room. And so thank you for being a part of that. Thank you for continuing to be the church wherever you are. And this morning, we're excited to have that opportunity again, to come together, to sing, to worship. We're going to be introducing you to a new song this morning, so we're excited about that. And so I pray that you would just go ahead, get your hearts and your minds prepared for worship. Go ahead, grab your Bible, get that last cup of coffee, and let's go ahead and worship together as we have church this morning.
You are here, moving in our midst. We worship you. We worship you. You are here, working in this place. We worship you. We worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. We worship you. We worship you. You are here, working in this place. We worship you. We worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. We worship you. We worship you. You are here, healing every heart. We worship you. We worship you. You are here, turning lives around. We worship you. We worship you. You are here, oh, mending every heart. Yes, you are. We worship you. Yeah, we worship you. Yes, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Yeah, yeah. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Making a way, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Yeah, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. And that is who you are. That is who you are. And that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. Yeah. Waymaker. in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Yeah. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Yeah. Even when I don't see it, you're working. And even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop. Oh, you never stop. And even when I don't see it, you're working. And even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. And even when I don't see it, you're working. And even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, oh my God, that is who you are. Making a waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, oh my God, that is who you are. Oh, 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 that is who you are. And that is who you are. And that is who you are. And that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Always making a way. Promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. God of Abraham, the God of covenant and faithful promises. Time and time again, you have proven you'll do just what you said. Though the storms may come and the winds may blow, I'll remain steadfast and let my heart learn. When you speak a word, it will come to pass. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. Yes, it is. God, from age to age, the earth may pass away, your word remains the same. Yeah, your history can prove there's nothing you can do. You're faithful and true. Though the storms may come and the winds may blow, I'll remain steadfast. And let my heart learn when you speak a word, it will come to pass. Great is your faithfulness to the setting sun, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. You are the definition of faithfulness. It's you, Lord. Put our faith in you right now. Put our faith in you. I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. Oh, I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. Oh, I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. Oh, I put my faith in Jesus. He's my anchor to the ground. He's my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. He'll never let me down. Great is your faithfulness to me. Hey, great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting sun, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Give you peace. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Let it be so. Sing amen. 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 The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace.
your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you and within you. He is with you, he is with you in the morning, in the evening, and you're coming and you're going, and you're weeping and rejoicing. He is for you, 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 he is for you. Generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May his presence go before you, and behind you, and beside you, all around you, and within you. He is with you, he is with you in the morning, in the evening, in the coming, and the going, and your weeping and rejoicing. He is for you, 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 he is for you.
Welcome back. So glad you're here. Love that new song. My name's Kat. Wanted to remind you that song is such a great reminder and encouragement that God's blessings are not just for us today, but that he has so much more planned for our children, for our future generations, not just within our church, but within this city and within the world. And so thank you for celebrating and worshiping about that with us this morning as we have that new song, The Blessing. wanted to remind you, we want to pray for you during this time. As we feel like we are in isolation, we might feel like we are alone. We want you to know that we are here for you. And so please send us an email at prayer@discoverrevo.com and let us know how we can be praying for you. We've gotten so many prayer requests at that address. We've gotten people reporting praises and great things that God has done, celebrating how He is at work in their lives. And so we want to pray with you. We want to celebrate with you. So send us an email, prayer@discoverrevo.com, and let us know how we can partner with you during this time. And I want to remind you, thank you for your generosity. It is having such an impact, not only here in our city, but we've gotten some really great stories from our partners in Cuba over these past few weeks. As you may know, we took 30 suitcases worth of materials and equipment and supplies with us down this past November. And that included personal hygiene items, medical supplies, children ministry supplies, soap, dental hygiene items, so much stuff. And it was such an incredible blessing for us to be able to give those suitcases of materials and supplies to the pastors, knowing that that was going to be an incredible blessing and an incredible encouragement to their church as they continued to work and serve in their communities. What we didn't know months ago, though, was that God had so much more planned for those supplies and those materials. And so as Cuba has continued and also been affected by the coronavirus, as the houses and the churches have been on just super lockdown and not able to get any supplies, and public transportation has been closed down, the pastors in these house churches have become the stores. They've become the pharmacies for their communities and for their neighborhoods, and they've been able to distribute and pass out and give out all of these supplies that we took months ago, not knowing what God had planned for them. And they have been able to bless so many more people than we could have initially imagined. And so thank you for that. Thank you for being generous. Thank you for supporting our church. And so as we look at this season and look at how our generosity now might have an impact in the future, I want you to continue to be generous. Continue to give, continue to support local ministries, because God is going to take that and use it in some way that is far greater than what we can imagine. And so as we look forward to that, if Revo is not your home church, please continue to support your home church as well during this time and during this season. Thank you for tuning in with us, but we want you to continue to be a part and continue to support your own church and their ministries, because God has plans for those all around the world and not only in our community. So thank you for that as we continue to be generous. And then finally, I want to remind you, our group signups are now open. We are going to have our groups this summer. There will be a summer season. Phase 3 is on the horizon, and I'm so excited about it. And so go ahead and sign up for an R group. But if you realize you're like, none of those times work for me, I can't go, and I really wanted to take that class on Revelation, or I really wanted to take that class on leadership that they've mentioned and talked about, and I've seen that video, you can do that too. We're going to have all of those online classes available as on-demand content on our website throughout the summer. And so if you wanted to take a class that maybe your R group didn't sign up for, or if you can't meet with one of the R groups, you can still participate. That's the great thing about the internet, is it's everywhere. And so go to discoverrevo.com/R groups, sign up today, check out the trailer videos for the upcoming classes, and decide what you want to learn this summer. As we continue to be able to go back to kind of quote-unquote normal life, we want you to be in community with other believers. We want you to continue to grow deep and move forward in your relationship with God, and these classes and these R groups are going to help facilitate that. And so we really encourage you to sign up and get involved. And now this morning we have the opportunity, we're going to continue our Imperfect Family series as we open up God's Word and see what He has for us today.
Now, home is a lot of work. Just plain work. When work at home is planned and organized for cooperation, there can usually be more time for leisure.
I'm certainly in favor of those things. Leisure, fun.
Who isn't?
Wouldn't we all be happier if we worked out a little system for living together in harmony?
But how can we manage them?
We'll have to work out the full answer together.
Say, Mom, you're swell.
Most families family problems can be solved through frank and friendly discussion, which points the way to a happy family life.
You know, this is beginning to be quite a family project.
It certainly is.
Welcome, friends and fam. Thanks so much for tuning in today. My name's Nathan. I'm one of the pastors here. I got a question for you. Are you satisfied? It seems like satisfaction is quite an elusive thing, especially in our world today. I give you an example. One of the categories that people have been broken into today in our world are essential workers and non-essential workers. And what's so funny to me about this is no matter who I talk to, whatever category they fall into, they wish they were in the other category. If you talk to people that aren't at work right now and you ask them, like, what do you want to do? All they say is, man, I just want to get back to work. I just want to get back to normal. Then you talk to the essential workers and you say, what do you want to do? You say, I just wish that I was like everyone else and I could just stay at home and take a break. Both of them have what the other one wants, and neither one of them want it. Neither one of them are satisfied. Satisfaction is so elusive right now. It's the same in stage of life. I can remember when I was in high school, I would look at college students, at all the freedom they had, at all the fun they were having. They were doing work, but they were enjoying the college life at the same time. And all I could think about was, I can't wait until I get to college. And then when you get to college, what do? You see seniors that start graduating and actually getting a job and making this stuff called money and being able to buy stuff with it. And all you can think about is, man, I'm working so much in college. I can't wait until I can get out of school so that my work will actually begin to pay me. Then you get that job and you work it for 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 years. And then all of a sudden, you start looking at the people that retire. And you start saying, wow, I can't wait till I retire. Look at them. They're taking it easy. They don't have to work anymore. They got some time to travel and have fun and go to the beach and spend time with family. I can't wait. That's when I'll be satisfied, whenever I can retire. And if you don't know, go talk to somebody that's retired. Talk to somebody that's been retired for a few years now, and they'll start to look back, and they'll look back at people in their early 20s, maybe that just graduated college, and they have their whole life in front of them. And these retired people, sometimes their body is breaking down. They can't do what they used to do physically anymore. And you know what they start saying? They start saying, wow, wish I was young again. Man, to have your whole life in front of you. I wish I could go back and be young again. No one is ever satisfied. It's the same with relationships. The majority of the single people that I talk to, they'll tell you, I just want to be married. I just like to be married. If I were married, then my life would be so much better. But can I tell you that I have some married friends that look at people that are single and say, man, you got it made. I was talking with a single friend of mine the other day, and we were sitting down at our table, and he was explaining to me about his life, and just mentioning, he's like, man, I'd really love to be married. And so I just kind of played devil's advocate here. I said, man, let me help you understand something. Do you know that all of the time that you have is yours? You know you can do anything you want to? Did you know that you can go to the grocery store and buy any food that you want to eat? Anything. It's 100% your choice. When you go on vacation, you can go wherever you want and stay as long as you want and do whatever you want. Do you know that all of your stuff is yours? You don't have to share it with anybody. All of your time, all of your money. I mean, you could just get off one day at work and just say, hey, I'm just going to go to the beach for the weekend. Or I'm going to take a trip to the mountains, or I'm going to go make this big purchase, or you know what? I don't feel like eating breakfast for breakfast. I want to eat breakfast for dinner, and nobody can tell me what to do. Do you understand how good you have it? Look, I love being married. I love my family, but sometimes I look at people with none of those commitments and none of that structure, and I'm just like, oh man, that looks good. Go to bed whenever you want to, do whatever you want to, spend your time however you want to, go wherever you want to. It's all yours. But it's crazy. No matter which area of relationship that you have, whatever your status is, it seems like no one is satisfied with where they are. And they're always looking at the other side saying, boy, you are what I want to be. You are what I'm striving for. I really wish that I had what the other people have. 45% of the population in the U.S. right now are single people. That's higher than any percentage it's ever been in our history. And so I want to talk to those people today, but I don't want to just talk to the single people because I want to cover the whole broad spectrum of the conversation. And I want to teach you today how you can be satisfied in your relationships. What if I told you that you could be single and satisfied? What if I told you, if you are married today, that in order to be satisfied, you don't need a new spouse or a different spouse or no spouse or to trade a family in and some kids in for some well-behaved, respectful kids. You don't need that. What if I told you that no matter what area of life you are in, married or single or remarried or a widow or in between relationships or it's complicated, what if I told you that you could be satisfied? You interested? Are you interested in no matter what stage or area of life that you are in right now, what if I told you that you could have ultimate relationship satisfaction? That's what I want to talk to you about today and share with you a story of a really famous single person in the Bible. Now, if you go to the New Testament, the two most famous single people in the New Testament got to be Jesus and the Apostle Paul. But if you go to the Old Testament, the most famous, most well-known single person probably would have to be a girl by the name of Ruth. This girl is a big deal. I'll prove it to you. There are only 2 books in the Bible that are named after women, and Ruth is one of them. I mean, this girl is significant. Something happened in her life that would make a book of the Bible be named after you, and thousands of years later, people are still learning and sharing her story. So I want to look this morning at actually, the story starts out as a single girl named Ruth and ends with a married girl named Ruth. But the interesting thing is, no matter what season she was in, she was satisfied. And I think you can do it. No matter what season you are in, no matter where you find yourself in life, I think Scripture gives us some great outlines and ideas on how you can be satisfied. Let me set the table for you before we get into the book of Ruth, chapter 1 in verse 6. Here's how the story unfolds. There was a mother named Naomi. Now, she was married, and she had 2 boys, right? And both of her sons got married. One of them married a girl named Orpah, not to be confused with Oprah. Orpah was her name. The second son married a sweet gal by the name of Ruth. Now, here's where the story takes a terrible twist. Tragically, Naomi's husband dies, and both of her sons die within a decade, a 10-year period. And so now we have this brand new family, a mother-in-law with 2 daughter-in-laws, right? What could possibly go wrong there, right? I mean, like this is like a pilot episode for a new reality show that everyone in America is going to watch. What could possibly go wrong? So at the end of this tragedy, they have some decisions to make. Where are we going to go? How are we going to live? How are we going to make money? Who's going to provide for us? Are we going to stay together? Are we going to move? Are we ultimately going to split apart? This big decision that they have to make is where we pick up the story, and it is so full of great relational advice when it comes to satisfaction. In chapter 1, in verse 6, here's what happens. When Naomi, this is the mother, when the mother-in-law Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them, she and her daughters-in-law, Orpah, not to be confused with Oprah, and Ruth, 2 daughters-in-law, prepared to return home from there. With her 2 daughter-in-laws, she left the place where she had been living and set out on the road that would take them to the land of Judah. Then Naomi said to her daughter-in-laws, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband." Then she kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud and said to her, "We will go back with you to your people." Naomi, this mother-in-law, just says, "Hey, man, girls, I'm just going to keep it real. I know what young girls like you want. I know the dream. I know what you're shooting for. You girls are young. You don't want to spend the rest of your life caring for an old woman like me, especially since I'm your mother-in-law, like I'm not even your real mom. It would be cruel. No one wants that. So here's the deal. Why don't you girls just go back home? Go back home to your mom and to your dad. Maybe there's a man in your hometown that you can get remarried to, because I know that's what girls like you want. That's what daughters like I would want to have. That's what they would want. And so just don't worry about it anymore. Leave me and go back home and find yourself a man. So she kissed them goodbye. All three of them started crying. The girls started hugging their mother-in-law and it's like, no, we will never leave you. We're ride or die together. You're our mother-in-law. We made a commitment. We will stick with you. We will help you. Here's what Naomi said when they started crying. But Naomi said, return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? Am I going to have any more sons? Who could become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. I'm too old to have another husband. Even if I thought there was still hope for me, even if I had a husband tonight and they gave birth to sons, would you wait until they grow up? Would you remain unmarried for them? No, my daughters. It is more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has turned against me. Naomi just said, hey, you know what girls your age are doing? They're getting married and they're starting families. Do you think I'm going to have some more sons that maybe, I know you married my first two sons, but I'm an old woman. Like, I'm not going to have more sons that maybe one day can be your husbands. It's not going to work. Like, time is ticking, girls. You need to move on with your life. You need to do something with it. And she began to push them and urge them. And man, it makes sense, doesn't it? It doesn't make any sense to stay with Naomi. You got no future here, girls. You're not going to find a man with me. You're not going to start a family with me. And isn't that what everybody in this culture and in this world wants? Isn't that what every girl in your position is looking for? They want to get married. They want to fit in. They want to meet the status quo. They want to have kids. They want to have a family of their own. They don't want to be hanging out with their mother-in-law. So please, she just urges them. She keeps telling them, go. It makes sense. It's what every other girl is doing right now that's your age and in your situation, so just leave. Go out and do what every other girl is doing and what every other person looking for satisfaction in life. Chase the next thing. Start over. This is your chance. I'm releasing you to it. Here's the first thing that I want you to write down if you're taking notes. If you want, regardless if you're single or married, if you want satisfaction in your relationships, here's the first thing you're going to have to grasp. Number one, you don't have to fit in. Can I just free you of that? We live in a culture where everyone is desperately trying to fit in. It amazes me, specifically when I talk to single people, but also with married couples. I'll ask them what they want to do with their life or what their next step is. And oftentimes single people will say, well, I want to get married. And oftentimes when I ask them why, they'll come up with this response. Well, it's just what people my age do. Well, all my friends are getting married and they're getting engaged, and now I want to get engaged. And if you're a married couple, sometimes I'll ask and they'll say, we want to have kids. Well, why? Well, that's just what married couples our age do. I mean, come on, Nathan, time's ticking, right? All of my friends are having kids. Well, all of my friends are buying nice houses and upgrading, so maybe that's what I should do. Well, all of my friends and like the cultural norms are you got to buy a nice car and roll around in a nice whip, so that's what I'm going to do. Oh, well, we need to do this and do that. Well, why? Well, it's because what everyone else is doing. This is just the norm. I'm just trying to fit in with what's going on. Like, can I hit the pause button real quick? Let me get this straight. You're ready to make a life-changing decision that will affect your life for decades. This changes everything. And your reasoning behind it is everyone else is doing it? This is what people my age do? Really? Really? Let me just go a little bit deeper, because if you want to fit in and you want what everyone else in this world has, let me run down some statistics for you, because here's what you're going to be facing. Single people that are ready to get married. Did you know that 50% of marriages in the U.S. end in divorce? You want that? I know you want to do what everybody else is doing, but do you want what everybody else has? Here's the latest statistics. Now, this is before coronavirus. This is back in 2019. But did you know that 70% of Americans had less than $1,000 in their savings account? Do you really want what everybody else has? Are you really ready to make big financial decisions because you think it'll bring you satisfaction, knowing that the majority of people don't have hardly any money in their savings account saved for a rainy day? I mean, I hear you when you say you want to do what everybody else does and you want to fit in and it's just time for you to do it. But do you really want what everybody else has? 53% of Americans last year in 2019 admitted that they are dissatisfied with their job. Do you really want to make career decisions because this is what everybody else said and this is what everybody else is doing? You really think that's the road to satisfaction? Here's the most staggering stat. 2019, less than 1/3 of Americans said that they were highly satisfied with their life. Do you understand? That's 66% of our country is less than highly satisfied with their current life. And you mean to tell me that your game plan to reach satisfaction in your life and in your relationships is to be just like them? What? It doesn't make sense. Can I warn you on something like, just hopefully this will save you some heartbreak. I want to warn you not to chase things that are broken, because eventually one day you might catch it. You're making decisions about life and relationships and family and finances. And I don't know if you realize this or not, but you're chasing people who have marriages that you wouldn't want for your own. You're chasing people that are in financial debt and ruin, and you're trying to fit in with them, but they have a future that you don't want. You're chasing people at your job that ultimately, if you were to take a step back and realize you don't want what they have, stop wasting time chasing broken stuff, because if you don't watch out, one day you'll get it. You'll catch it. So when it comes to satisfaction, in life and relationships, please understand this. You don't have to fit in. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing just because you're a certain age or you live in a certain society or you're at a certain point in your life, a certain season. Like, get that, understand that. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing. You could be single and satisfied. You could be married and satisfied, even without a trade-in of your spouse. Wherever you are in your life, do you understand that if you realize that your goal is not to fit in, but to live the life that God has called you to do and be, do you realize you can be satisfied? Please don't chase satisfaction where everyone else is chasing it, because you will end up in the same position that everyone else is. And heads up, normal is broken. Majority of people don't want to be there. But yet so many people, that's what they're chasing. And that's where they're looking for their satisfaction in. Story continues. Let's see how these girls respond. At this, they wept aloud again. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. Look, said Naomi, your sister-in-law Orpah, she's going back to her people and her gods. Go with her. But Ruth replied, don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me. When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. So funny, man. Orpah. A couple of verses ago, Orpah was like, I'll never leave you, mom-in-law, I love you. And then the mom said, no, seriously, you can go if you want to. And Orpah's like, okay, peace, deuces, I'm out. I'm gone. She was out, man. She left the moment that she got it. She chose to do the easy thing. Here's the next thing right here that I want you to write down if you want real satisfaction in relationships. The right thing and the easy thing are rarely the same thing. Got it? The right thing and the easy thing are rarely the same thing. You know what Orpah saw? The easy thing. She's like, I can be done with this. I can start over. I can get rid of this baggage and get rid of this drama and turn my back on this commitment that I have to this family that I'm married into. And at the first chance she got, peace, she's out. Love ya, see you later, hope to never see you again. But Ruth made a different decision. Orpah decided to chase what every other girl in the world was chasing at that time. Her idea was, I got to fit in, and I want to do what's easiest and best and path of least resistance for me. But Ruth decided something different. Instead of choosing the easy thing to do, she decided to do the right thing to do, even when it cost her, even when it involved a high level of commitment. I love the word choice. If you look in verse 18, the word choice was once Ruth determined what she was going to do, then Naomi, her mother-in-law, stopped urging her. I love that because right now, we don't really have, in our world, we don't really have a satisfaction problem in relationships. We have an urge problem. Because the majority of people in the world, as they're trying to gain satisfaction, instead of sticking to their commitments, they're chasing their urges. Maybe that's why you're not satisfied. Maybe instead of chasing all of your urges and everything that you think is going to make you happy and everything that you think is going to complete you and everything that you think is going to help you to fit in and is the easy path, maybe the key to satisfaction is not chasing every urge you have, but sticking to the commitments that you have. Hey, I know sometimes in marriage, it's just easier just to walk away. I don't want to have to deal with this. Like, cut it off, start over, just be about me, self-centered, self-focused, self-health, self-healing. Yeah, that's the easy thing. But it doesn't mean it's the right thing, because the easy thing and the right thing are rarely the same thing. Hey, the easy thing is for you to get married. Maybe the most difficult thing if you're single today is to stay single, but maybe that's the right thing that God actually has for you right now. Are you more interested in chasing what's easy or what's right? Orpah chased the easy thing. She saw a way out and took it. And we never hear from her again. Ruth decided, I'm not going to chase what everybody else is chasing. I'm not going to do what everybody else is doing. I'm not going to fit into the mold because I don't want what society produces. There's nothing there. It's empty. So here's what I'm going to do. Stick by my commitment and do the right thing. And finally, when Naomi, the mother-in-law, saw how committed Ruth was to doing the right thing, she stopped trying to push her away. She stopped trying to make her chase something else. Ruth knows the deal, man. It's not going to be easy. Like, she doesn't argue with anything that her mother-in-law said. It's going to be hard. You probably won't find another man. This life is going to be difficult. She doesn't argue any of that. She's like, oh yeah, I know. But this is the right thing. This is who God's called me to be right now. And I'm going to choose what's right over what's easy, even if it involves sacrifice, even if it involves me dying to myself, serving others, sacrificing for others, putting other people in front of myself. That is what Ruth was willing to do in order to achieve a certain level of satisfaction. I'll tell you, man, I know it's easy to do the wrong things sometimes and hard to do the right things. But can I just challenge you? The people that I know that would tell you, I have great satisfaction in my life, I've never met a person like that also followed that up with, I'm greatly satisfied because I always chose the easy thing and the thing that was the fastest and the smartest for me. Now, people that have great marriages, people that are satisfied in their life, whether they're single or newly single or a widow, like you talk to people that are satisfied and they'll say, I chose to do the right thing versus the easy thing. And that's where I am today. That's how I was able to reach this level of satisfaction in my life today. That's what Ruth decided to do. And in verse 19, it says, so the two women, now it's the mother-in-law, Naomi, and the daughter-in-law, Ruth. The two women went on until they came to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the women exclaimed, can this be Naomi? They hadn't seen her in a long time. Don't call me Naomi, she told them. Call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune upon me. She left as a married woman and came back as a woman whose husband and sons had passed away. And now she is complaining and bad-mouthing and down on everyone and everything, including God. Here's the third point. Let me just give you a heads up. You may not know this, but if this is you, everyone else around you knows this and wishes they could tell you this. Third point is this: bitterness is not a good look. It's a bad look. Bitterness is a bad look. So many people that are dissatisfied in their relationship, whether they're single or married or remarried or whatever, the people that are dissatisfied often are bitter. And they will complain and badmouth and woe is me and my life is terrible and can you believe I have to do this and can you believe I have to do that, and they're moping around and they're negative all the time. That's what I'm saying. Everyone around you knows that bitterness does not look good on you. Maybe they just don't have the heart to tell you yet. But the people that are constantly complaining about their status in life and their status in their relationship are a buzzkill. No one wants to be around those types of people. Bitterness does not look good on you at all, and that's exactly what Naomi was. In fact, she was so bitter. Did you catch what she said? She said, "Don't call me Naomi anymore, call me Mara." Do you know what Mara, the name, means? It means bitter. Naomi was saying, when you see me, I want you to realize I am a bitter old woman. Her whole life was defined by her bitterness. She took it out on her daughters-in-law. She took it out on anybody that would listen, and she took it out on God. She said, "Oh, God's been so bad to me, and it's just not fair, and I can't believe I'm here, and God has forsaken me, so I'm just going to throw myself a pity party and be bitter all the time." That's Naomi. But check out Ruth. Ruth was the opposite. Instead of being bitter, she was faithful. Ruth stuck by her commitments. Ruth understood what she was pursuing in life and how she could actually get there. She understood where ultimate satisfaction, whether she was single or living with her mother-in-law or married or whatever stage of life, she got it. And she realized bitterness is not the way to it. He says, man, I just want to be faithful. Whatever season I'm in, I want to be faithful. I want to do what God's called me to do. I don't want to complain. I don't want to mope around. I don't want to criticize. I don't want to have people say, woe is me and pity party. Everybody tell me how sorry they feel for me and how bad my life is. Just agree with me. That's not what Ruth did. It's interesting. One woman was bitter and dissatisfied, and the other woman was satisfied. Had a positive outlook on life, had a very different life trajectory than her mother-in-law had. Be faithful. I'm telling you, be faithful, and God will give you the satisfaction that you desire. But if you're bitter, then not only will you lose the satisfaction that you so much want, but nobody else will want to be around you. And they'll just know that you're just that bitter person that's bitter about life and about everything that's ever happened to them. Big difference between Naomi and Ruth. Here's how the story ends. Let me show you why that matters. The next chapter, verse 2, and Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, "Let me go to the fields and pick up the leftover grain behind anyone in whose eyes I find favor." Naomi said to her, "Go ahead, my daughter." So she went out, entered a field, and began to glean behind the harvesters. As it turned out, she was working in a field belonging to Boaz, who was from the clan of Elimelech. They moved to this new area, and because they don't have husbands, they don't have jobs, they don't have money, they don't know what to do. Naomi is sitting at home, bitter, brewing about her situation, frustrated about the cards that she's been dealt in life, blaming God. You know what Ruth does? She goes to work. She starts to hustle. She says, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go to the fields next door, and here's what happens. Like some man or some family would own a big field, and they would pay people to come and pick all the crops out of the field. But sometimes the workers would, get some of the crops and they would drop on the ground and they were just too lazy to pick it up, or they would not pick all of the crops off of the stems. And so poor people would be able to come through the field and pick behind them. They'd be able to pick the stuff that was dropped or the stuff that was left over. And instead of moping about her situation, Ruth said, I'm actually going to come out here and hustle. I'm going to do some work. I'm going to have a positive outlook on life. I'm going to provide for my family. I'm going to take what I've been given and make the best of it. And so she just tells her mother-in-law, I'm going to go into this field that we don't own, and I'm just like with the rest of the people that don't have much, I'm going to go out here and do everything that I can. And Naomi's like, fine, you do that. I'm going to stay at home bitter in my pity party. And I love verse 3. This phrase in verse 3 says, as it turned out, the field that she was working in belonged to a man by the name of Boaz, a man that loved God. As it turned out. Come on now, you know what that means, right? Just coincidence, right? Yeah, she just happened to stumble into a field. Here's the fourth thing that I want you to write down, man. Get this, this will help you. You do your part, and God will do his. You do your part, and God will do his. What did Ruth do? She was satisfied in whatever stage of life she was at. She's out here hustling and working, not moping around, not being bitter, not bad-mouthing, not complaining, not posting on social media about how hard her life is. She's out here doing her part. And wouldn't you know, as it so happens, coincidence, wink, wink, nod, nod, she finds herself in the field of a rich man that loves God. The story unfolds that Boaz notices her. He's like, hey, who's the girl out there that's picking? And they tell her, she's a poor gal and her mother-in-law, and she's taking care of her. And Boaz is like, here's the decision I'm going to make. Let that girl have whatever she wants. Like, let her come in before the workers and have pick first. Don't give her the leftovers. Man, like this girl is solid. If those are the decisions that she's made in her life, if that's what her priorities are, that's incredible. Like, she can come and pick fruit here and grain here, however she wants. It led from that to then all of a sudden, like one chapter later, Boaz invites Ruth over for dinner one night. Hello, we got a date going on. Let's go. By the end of the book of Ruth, Boaz and Ruth end up getting married. And I think because Ruth was satisfied and doing what God called her to do before she got married, then God ended up orchestrating some things and making her life even better. But it didn't matter to Ruth. She was satisfied then, and she's satisfied now. Something you're interested in? You interested in having that kind of satisfaction? I was sitting down with some singles recently, had them over to my house, and we were eating dinner, and one particular comment that I got was, and I don't know if you ever heard this from single people, but these people are Christians, and so they say, where are all the good girls? Where have all the good guys gone? I know there's a lot of single people, but I'm looking for good people. And so I just took that opportunity to ask them. I was like, what are you looking for? One particular guy at the table, I said, what are you looking for? They were around the table with my family just having this conversation. So tell me what you're looking for as a single guy. And he just told me, he's just like, well, here's what I've been praying for, Pastor Nathan. I've been praying that God would send me a godly girl that loves Jesus. That is career-oriented, that has her own identity, that is blazing hot, that is smart, that loves Jesus, and that is blazing hot. Did I mention I wanted to be blazing hot? I'm just praying that God would send me all those things. I don't know. I'm just asking God to send me all of those things. You don't think that's wrong, Pastor Nathan, do you? And I took that moment just to kind of turn it into a teaching moment. I say, well, hey, let me ask you this. For you as a man, how's your relationship with Jesus going? Are you reading your Bible every day? Are you spending time praying every day? How about your finances, man? You got some savings built up? You being responsible with it? Not just responsible, but are you being generous? Like, do you give to the local church? Do you give in the city to meet needs? Are you involved in a small group? Like, have you surrounded yourself with a group of other dudes that are pushing you to become more like Jesus and helping you move forward in your life as a man every day? How about, are you serving people? Do you serve people? Not just inside of the church, but I'm talking about like outside in the community. There's so many needs in the community. Hey, man, like, give me a little update. How are you doing on that? And unfortunately for him, a lot of the answers were not very good. And I just wanted to be real with him. It's just us, man. We're boys. I'm your pastor. Maybe you aren't waiting on God to bring a godly woman into your life. Maybe God is waiting on you to be a godly man before he brings one of his daughters into the picture. Because as I'm listening to your story right now, even if a godly girl walked up to you right now, when she got to meet you, she'd probably keep walking past you. That dude doesn't go to Revo anymore. I don't know why. I think it was the music, actually. He just didn't like the music, so he left to go to another church. Man, if you do your part, then God does his. Did you know that? But some of you, man, are chasing things that if a godly woman or a godly man walked into your life right now, they would see how your life is and they wouldn't be interested. And in actuality, you're not waiting on God to provide. God is waiting on you to become the man or the woman that he's created you to be. It's a great love story in the book of Ruth. She was satisfied when she was single, but also satisfied when she got married. There's a reason why this love story is so important and reason why it's included in Scripture, and it's this. This is a great love story between a woman named Ruth and a man named Boaz, but their family lineage is also very important. Did you know that Boaz was actually, this couple became great-great-great-grandparents of King David? And do you know who was born from the family of King David? A man named Jesus. You see, what started as a single girl that understood where her true satisfaction was found, it was found in God. It was found in forgetting culture and doing what God called her to do and doing the right thing over the easy thing. Do you know that as a result of that family, trickle it down generation to generation, would one day be a man named Jesus that can ultimately show you how to have satisfaction in every area of your life? This story is significant for us in so many ways, but ultimately because of this. Because of what Jesus has done, because of how he has paid for your sins, you and I can experience a level of satisfaction in life, a level of peace, a level of understanding that can be found nowhere else. And I don't care how rich you are or how poor you are. I don't care how single you are or how many times you've been married. Apart from Jesus, you're looking for satisfaction in places that will leave you empty every single time. So my challenge is instead of focusing on how you can have satisfaction in your life from some other person, figure out that you can have satisfaction in your life by knowing one person, and his name is Jesus. We'd love you to help you take your next step this morning. Love to connect with you this week and help you to understand how you can have complete, ultimate relationship satisfaction no matter what stage of life you find yourself in. Let me pray for you. God's satisfaction comes from you alone. Help us not to chase things that don't matter, that will leave us empty. God, before we look to bring in outside things to bring us inside satisfaction, help us to see your Son, Jesus. Help us to know him, to follow him, to set our eyes on him and understand that as long as we pursue you, choose the right thing, eliminate the other negativity, keep our eyes focused on being the men and the women that you've called us to be, then our true satisfaction lies in knowing you and enjoying that ultimate relationship. Pray and ask those things in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Sing. Worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, Jesus. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever